Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse pregame show. And we are waiting for Quis to show up. He got stuck in traffic. I was stuck myself. And we're going to be talking about rumors, trade proposals, and give you an OB update. And we're going to preview the game, the actual game, the Hornets. And we are going to talk about whether the Knicks should actually tank instead of making trades to try to win now and get into the playoffs. But first, I want to thank everybody for joining me and Keith when he shows up here. And let's see, let me get over here. All right. It's been an interesting week. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to jump on to cover all the news stories like I normally do. So we're gonna try to do it today, but running out of time. It's an early game start, and just the way schedules are going nowadays, it's tough, especially with the holidays coming up. If this is your first time here and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit that thumbs up button for me. Much appreciate that. And drop your comments. Definitely love to hear the comments. And see, shout out to D Nice, Evan Best. What's going on, man? Jose Vasquez, good to see you guys. DJ Dax, good to see you, man. Let's see, Cameron Goldberg. All right, CL Kedrick. All right, we got a good crew here. We are going to let me just talk about the. Let's just jump into this. We'll jump into it because we've got right now some interesting news about the. Well, it's not even news. It's like I love when things are like presented this way, and it turns out it's not even news. It's just someone saying that the Knicks are probably going to monitor the Chicago situation. So Adrian Wojnarowski was on the countdown on Wednesday before the Knicks Hawks game, and he was interviewed by Malika, and he basically said on that show, he said the Knicks will be watching Chicago. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski said, "Is Zach LaVine a player who before the deadline possibly could become available? He certainly isn't now." So it's just all pure speculation, but it does make sense. It does make sense that these two teams talk to each other because basically we have a lot of young players. There's debate whether there's any potential stars on our roster. I have my own specific opinions about that, but they are quality players, definitely quality players, rotation players. And especially when I show you some of the metrics, you'll see that this team definitely has. We have young talent, and he actually pointed out we actually may have too much young talent, but we also have draft picks. So, and Chicago, what do they need? They actually need to reboot. If this team falters for the next 2-3 weeks, let's say by the turn of the calendar year, and if they have not turned it around, there's really no point for them to continue trying to win with that roster. They need to break it up because also Vucevic, he's a free agent after this season. And DeRozan is aging. He's on a bloated contract. And then LaVine, he signed a $205 million contract recently. But how else can you reboot if you're not going to move pieces? We were in a similar situation in years past. So this is definitely something to monitor. Some of the interesting odd things are, well, not odd, but some of the interesting things to note are that Zach LaVine used to play for Tom Thibodeau. He was traded away to get Jimmy Butler. He was traded to Chicago, so he ended up in Chicago. So there's that history. So once again, the Tom Thibodeau, his past is coming around to kind of possibly throw a monkey wrench into the whole situation because maybe Zach doesn't want to come here. Not that he'd have much choice because I don't believe he has a no trade clause, so I should check in on that. So they make a lot of sense. We've got the picks, they've got the players, and Zach LaVine in New York would be a really interesting play. I've always liked his game. I used to watch him at UCLA. I live here in LA. He's explosive. He can definitely carry a team for a while. Now, then you have to ask yourself, well, if that's true, why are the Bulls struggling so much? It could be just bad chemistry. It could be, after a while, they gave it a go. They gave it a go with that trio of DeRozan, Vucevic, and LaVine, but it wasn't enough. He's not like the best defensive guy. So he's not a stopper by any means. So he needs defensive guys around him, which the Knicks, we have some. Unfortunately, Some of the ones that we have disappointed us recently, but Randall's definitely come around defensively. I've noticed that, and but who knows? Maybe he's even part of the trade to make the salaries work. It could even be RJ. Could be the one that goes there with a couple of picks. Either way, worth monitoring. Not sure how you guys feel about Zach LaVine, but if you do, just drop your comments in there. Let me know. But you can see Jay England says Zach and Brunson. That wouldn't be that bad. Kaiser Jose 718 says this is desperate. I think it's smart to keep monitoring things, because when players move around, they may come to a team and it drastically improves them to the point where you can't ever compete with them again. And we have some issues. We have some teams that are coming up. I mean, the Pacers are coming up. I know Orlando's not winning right now, but they've got tremendous young players there. Same with Detroit. So the teams in the bottom are going to eventually rise. And then some of those at the top are going to falter, but some are going to continue. I mean, the Celtics, I don't see the Celtics faltering. They finally figured it out, thanks to the Knicks last year. That says, Jason Tatum said it himself. So, and Milwaukee, yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on the health of Middleton and Lopez, but they've been smart at replacing players. And then they have Giannis. Most of the teams have a superstar that they can depend on to get them a bucket. The Knicks are one of the few who do not. So adding a Zach LaVine does make a lot of sense. And right now, we're about to add the man himself, Mr. Quis of SportsVibesTV. That means I got to plug in. Hold on, so I can hear him. Oh, man. It's good that he's joining us here. What's up, brother?
It's good, George. How's everything?
Good, man. Just it's been a crazy Friday. I thought it was going to be a little.
Who are you telling?
Man. Yeah. How you doing? Oh, you got the tie off. Looking sharp today.
Yeah, man. I couldn't change or anything. I just had to turn the camera on, turn the mic on, and let's get the show on the road.
Beautiful. Shout out to Lexa Destroyer. Thank you so much, brother. Best mod around. Holding it down for us. See Balling Down Under. Thanks for joining. PayPal 718. PayPal. I like that one. Man, I love the names of everyone in the chat. Such great ones.
Some very interesting ones.
Yeah. So I got going. I got not an early start, but I started before you joined, obviously. And I was already talking about the latest news here. And let's see. Let's put this up. I want to hear your thoughts about this, because I basically just gave my whole feeling and take about this idea of them two talking to each other. Basically what I said, in case you missed it, just to recap it, I think it makes perfect sense for the Knicks to monitor this situation. And we've got picks, we've got young players. If Chicago wants to basically reboot it, we should definitely look at Zach LaVine. He is an interesting special player, not necessarily on the level of Donovan Mitchell, but offensively, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you can argue that, he actually might. There were times when he's been better, but he's definitely at least in that zone. But I'm just curious what your feelings about this. Have you seen this whole story?
Yeah. I've seen that they're monitoring the Zach LaVine situation, but I'm not exactly sure if that's the guy that the Knicks should be targeting. I mean, you look at what he's been able to do over in Chicago with DeMar, Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball when he was healthy, and they really weren't able to make too much noise in the Eastern Conference. So if we go ahead and trade for Zach LaVine, I'm assuming we're giving up a guy like RJ, who was the centerpiece in the Donovan Mitchell trade, and we're probably going to have to give up another young player or two. So if we do make that Zach LaVine deal, we'd be in the same situation that we would have been if we traded for Mitchell, but instead we would have a player in LaVine that's not as good, I think, or is not, Donovan Mitchell is still young, still getting, better, season after season. And I think Zach LaVine, he might be the best version of himself that we've seen so far. And then, you can make the choice who you think is better, Donovan Mitchell or Zach LaVine. And, they're very comparable. And I think Donovan Mitchell can continue to get better. So I don't know if I would bring in a guy like Zach LaVine if I bailed on a Donovan Mitchell deal, especially when the cost is going to be somewhat similar. And then when you look at the finished product of what this team would be with a Zach LaVine on here, you'd probably still have Jalen Brunson. I would assume you'd have Julius Randle, and then you would have Zach LaVine rounding out your trio. And I'm not sure that's going to be enough to be competitive in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if that would be, super competitive in the Atlantic. I mean, look what we have to do. Look at the teams we have to go up against in our own division. You've got the Nets.
That's what I was talking about that earlier too, as well.
Yeah,
the other teams. Yeah, but what if those teams get him? That kind of makes our lives even harder. Like it's more in baseball. This is more of an issue, like in your division. Like the Mets don't want, they wouldn't want like Aaron Judge coming onto the the Phillies or the Braves. It's almost like sometimes you have to circumvent that kind of situation.
When it makes sense, though, but you don't want to go ahead and make a move based on what other teams in your division are doing, especially if it's going to put you in a hole. And you look at how much Zach LaVine is going to be getting paid over the next, few years. And I think that contract is going to be something that people are going to look at and say, is he going to be somewhat overpaid by the time he gets to the end of that deal? So I'm not sure I would be all in on Zach LaVine, especially when I've seen him paired with a few other, star players, and he's been unable to get the job done.
Yeah, he's 2.5 years older than Donovan. They kind of similar players, though. They really are, but he's bigger. He's a lot bigger than Donovan. Donovan's having a career year right now, so it's basically makes it seem like a ridiculous even comparison. But when you look at their careers, they're very comparable. And there was a stretch there when they got that unit together. Remember, they're also missing Lonzo Ball. Caruso's been in and out, hurt.
Inconsistent.
And then Williams also has been inconsistent. So a lot of other guys kind of like have let them down in some ways, not by injuries or the actual play on the court. But the argument can be made, if he can't make the Bulls a competitive team, then what's the point in trading for someone like that? I mean, that's a very legit argument. But I still think it's definitely something that the Knicks should keep an eye on, because you never know how with the price may not be as drastic as we think. They may look at being able to get off his salary as a big bonus for them. We do have some good picks that they could use. They don't have a 2025 pick, and the 2023 pick, they might hold on to it. Currently, they'll hold on to one, but the other one they will have to give up. So it's possible that depending on the price, it's definitely something for them to monitor. And Adrian Wojnarowski did say that we do have a glut of young players, which we have to do something about at some point.
We should be doing something about the vets, not the young players. Rose and Fournier should be the ones we should be looking to move. And, if you have to include a player, like Cam in order to get the deal done, I mean, I'm not exactly thrilled about it. But if that's the route that the Knicks go, then, you can understand somewhat of them trying to free up some space for some of the other young guys that might not be able to get some extended minutes in the rotation. But me personally, Zach LaVine, not necessarily the guy I would pursue. And I think that the front office is maybe heading in the wrong direction based on some of the news that we've been hearing.
Also, yes. Well, we're going to get into that part too. Also, there's the weird, it's weird for us that Zach was traded away by Thibs himself to get Jimmy buckets. So there's that history. Who knows how that actually plays out? Who knows what went on between them if Zach liked playing for Thibs. So this could be another issue. I still think it's definitely something worth monitoring. Not something that they should just immediately, look the other way. Because who else? I mean, let's talk about it here. Let's talk about this right now. Let's talk about this whole recent developments. Let's put it that way. The recent developments in terms of what it looks like the actual direction of the front office.
They actually have a direction? I don't know what they're trying to do at this point.
Yeah. What's going on there? What's going on, Quis?
I'm just as confused as you, my man. They traded for Cam. Then looks like the coach really doesn't want Cam on the squad. They try to make things work, and now you're seeing that they could potentially be moving on from Cam. I think this front office, they really haven't committed to any one direction. I think things happen, and they just are quick to pivot. And you want a front office that can be flexible, but I think this front office kind of bails on too many projects before they get to see anything through. And I think Cam is one example. You look at the Obi Toppin selection in the NBA draft, the fact that you drafted him as a potential, as someone you can build around, I would assume, since you spent, the 8th overall selection for him. But then the following offseason, you go and you kind of rip that up and extend Julius Randle. So I think if you look at what this front office has done, I think one of the biggest issues that have been plaguing them is a lack of any decisiveness with any of their moves. And I think that might be, you can credit some of that to the fact that there's so many people in the front office that seem to have a say.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you brought up the Cam situation, the Cam trade itself. I'm wondering if at some point Leon had a vision for the team, and he pulled the trigger on the Cam trade, kind of went against what Thibs was thinking. Thibs was never high on the trade ever, and we heard from Berman, boom, boom, boom. Never
from
high
day one.
From day one,
a big
and you and I were like pissed. We're like, play him. Why is he just sitting there? Why is he only getting 4 minutes, 5 minutes? Remember that? We were like, come on, let's see what we got. We gave up a first-round pick and Knox for him. Let's see what we got. Nothing. And look at the situation now. It's like this odd relationship between him and Thibs, even though Cam is very classy about it. He says there is no issue. He plays it down. He says all the right things. And but I'm wondering if at some point Leon and his team were on this path to building a team, but then suddenly the brakes were thrown on it. Because remember, they did the Fournier thing, didn't work. Kemba thing, didn't work. Nerlens Noel thing, didn't work. Most of the things they tried didn't work.
Everything but trades has not
Everything
worked.
but trades. And there's only two trades.
Free agents. And not free agency, and drafts.
The drafts we've done well. We've only done two real trades, the Cam one and the Rose one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Rose one did work at first, but in the end, we got to be honest. It really hasn't worked out in 2 years.
Yeah.
He's been
either injured or now out of the rotation entirely.
Exactly. So you think it wasn't like necessarily a pivot, but kind of like they just decided, you know what? We can't keep going in both directions at the same time. Can't have the cake and eat it too. Let's just go all in with Thibs, build a team for him. And if we ride or die in that way.
But even then, what's the plan? Because you look at this squad, a team that's centered around Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, and Randall will be competitive most nights when they play defense. But that's not a team that you're looking at and saying, all right, we're on the right path to building a championship contender, because you have too many question marks.
But that's what the whole thing of adding a superstar to that team.
But we're not a superstar away unless we're keeping all three of those players. And then if we do that, then there's not enough basketballs on the court, not enough room in that locker room for the egos that are going to be involved. And I think still you are a team that's not going to be good enough to compete with some of the upper echelon teams, both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
But what if the timeline was a little longer than we think?
Well, what would Tibbs' timeline be? How old is Tibbs at this point? How many more years do you think he's going to be coaching legitimately?
I don't know. He's like 160 or something. I don't know.
I won't go that far.
He loves it. He still has the energy. He's got the fire. He's got the energy. I mean, that guy. If he, and I gotta say, I gave him some credit the past couple of recaps. He has been trying new things. But he's still a coach that the game has passed him by. He's trying to catch up to the game. So, kudos for him for trying that. And if he can, he's a smart guy. He's a brilliant basketball mind. Maybe he is able to finally do the adapting that we've been demanding. And now he's featuring a lot of the young players. He almost has no choice either.
Yeah, he has no choice for the most part. The only choice you probably had was playing Deuce, and even then, Deuce is only in there because he's a defensive upgrade to
the
Rose.
Yeah,
it's not because Tom Thibodeau was putting him in there to see what he can do and to see if he can actually play at this level. He's just doing that to see if he can get his defense up so he don't get fired.
Yeah. So I mean, let's say they're looking at it as, you know what, if we can turn this team around and get us into the play-in and maybe sneak into the playoffs, or the team really finally, that they develop enough chemistry with Randall, RJ, and now Grimes is finally getting, turning into what we all hoped he would be. The defensive issues, we plug those gaps in the defense, and over time, as the guys play together more, they're going to end up being better around each other. And then we have Brunson. So they figure maybe, depending how injuries go and how moves go, we can snag that 6th seed. They might still have that thinking. And then they're like, okay, that's what I mean. I'm telling you, what else are they doing?
Grab the 6th seed and do what with it?
That's it.
Have a Cinderella story.
They don't care if they lose in the first round. They get the 6th seed if they get into the playoffs or in the play-in. But play in and win a game and get into the playoffs?
More than the play-in. We got to at least get to the first round. You get to the first round, I feel more comfortable about the trajectory.
Well, that's what playoffs is. Technically, playoffs is that. I just figured.
Play-in don't count.
Yeah, play-in don't count. You have to win the play-in to get in. But let's say the Knicks do that. They might feel, that's it. That's enough to get Dolan off their back. Then they continue the next summer.
And then they could be complacent? Because let's say we go ahead and we get to the first round. Now, at the end of that season, what moves do you think would be available for us to build upon that season?
That's the big question everybody has. That's why I pulled up the Zach LaVine thing.
Yeah, but we're gonna be capped out that offseason, I would assume, if we're not able to make some moves. And also
next summer, you mean?
Yeah, next offseason.
Yeah, there's still things that we can do, though. We could definitely move Fournier, even if at that point we have to attach an asset to move Fournier so that we can sign somebody. That's at that point, it's worth it. We did it last season with Nerlens, Burks, and Kemba.
Yeah, but everybody's upset about us doing it.
But that's why we also have extra picks, too, to be able to afford to do that. But I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just explaining. I'm just giving you what their thinking is, what I think their thinking is.
If that was the situation where we're now using picks to just do mulligans, then I think that's franchise malpractice, because these picks should be used to bring in assets, not used to correct your bad mistakes and your bad decision making. So me personally, even if we get to the playoffs this season, next offseason, I really don't see much that this front office can do to really get better, unless you're willing to do something drastic, like move, a guy like Julius Randle, or maybe move a guy like RJ Barrett in a bigger deal to get a star, go through another season.
They've shown that they're not adverse to moving RJ.
Well, yeah,
so we know he just didn't want to move RJ from what we've heard, because like I keep repeating this, no one knows for sure what the actual final offer was, or we heard like rumors early on it was RJ, Obi, and Mitch. Yeah,
that would have been wild.
That would have been mind blowing, especially the way Mitch has been playing mostly lately, like fabulous. But all the iterations now, even though during the summer we didn't necessarily know this, but towards the end of it, come September, we knew RJ was the key piece in that. But they also wanted Grimes and possibly IQ, and then the 5 picks. So that was, and then some other players to make salaries match. That was a haul. I don't think it would take that to get a LaVine. I don't think it would take that.
I don't know if we'd be as good with LaVine that we would be if we went and got Donovan Mitchell. So it's a whole bunch of variables, but I just don't see a team built around Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson as being a squad that puts fear in other teams' hearts.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Brunson's a solid piece. I like the signing, but I just feel like we need 2 stars here paired with a Jalen Brunson if we really want to be competitive. And it's hard for me to find an avenue where we're able to do that if we're not, bad enough to get a high draft pick, or if we don't have enough pieces that we can go and trade for 2.
Bro, it just it just hit me just now, which is kind of odd. Is there any chance Leon and Thibs think we already have a future star on our team, and his name is Jalen Brunson, that he will in 2 years be a consistent all-star? Do you think that they
No.
feel he might be that?
Well, I don't think Jalen Brunson thinks he's that. Look at how he set. Look how they set up his contract. It's descending. Typically, when you see those star players, they normally get paid more as the year progresses. I mean, as the seasons progress. I mean, look at Zach LaVine. What is he playing? What is he getting paid? Around 36, 37 this season, and then by the end of his contract, he's getting paid 50. So if Jalen Brunson or if Leon Rose thought they were a star, I think he'd be paid a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's only a 4-year. I mean, he'll be 29 when his contract ends. And if he's balling, if he turns into that, he'll get a nice payday then. I'm just wondering if they think, wow, we got this one piece. He looks like he can pop. I mean, people were talking about him possibly being in the All-Star game this year if he keeps going. I mean, he had a bad game recently, but he's had a really good season.
Yeah, he's had a solid season.
Yeah, so maybe they think, we get the next guy if we don't totally deplete our resources, and then we can add a third piece that isn't as expensive, but it's really, or maybe somehow through free agency or sign and trade type situation. We pair up whatever contract we don't want at that time. Maybe it's RJ who goes, or even Randall. I'm just thinking they must think that we're closer than we are. The front office, Leon. It just seems like they just put all their eggs into one basket, and that's Thibs.
Which is ridiculous, especially seeing that Thibs has already been fired from 2 previous jobs. I don't know why they would, because honestly, if they don't fix things or figure it out this season, I don't know if I highly doubt they'll ever get another job to run a front office. So to invest this much in Tom Thibodeau's vision, especially when it hasn't worked in his previous locations, to me is just mind-boggling. I understand it's cool to be loyal to people that you have personal relationships with, but if they're not producing, at some point you have to make the right decision for whatever business you're working for, or the franchise.
Yeah, let's absolutely, I 100% agree with that. To me, it's a huge mistake. I mean, I'm on record for calling to just pivot away, dump Thibs and move forward and all that. And
Thibs will be here for at least another month or two, I think. Especially if you look at our schedule,
those saves
might make the All-Star break.
Those games saved his ass big time.
Yeah. And then look at the game today. I don't know what's going on. We're getting lucky. Thibs is getting lucky. Every team we play, they're missing a major piece of their team. Tonight, you've got LaMelo. He won't be available.
I think Thibs was walking in the woods during the summer, and he ran into a little hut, and there was a witch in there, and he made a deal.
He did a little obia.
Yeah, exactly. So I came across
what is it in Spanish? Santeria.
Little Santeria. Yeah,
he did a little bit of that.
I don't know if you can see this. So this was Cam Reddish basically denies asking Knicks for a trade. Nothing like that. But, there's too many rumors about it. So there's got to be a little bit of something to it. But he denies it. And to me, he seems very convincing about it. So he said, I haven't requested any trades. I have not. Reddish declared with a smile. You all seem to know more than me, for real. I don't know what you're talking about, but I haven't requested a trade. Nothing like that. So I'm going to take him for his word, even though all the rumors say otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. You might think he might take him for his word because he's so cool, calm, and collected when he says it. But I think behind the scenes, he's definitely looking for a trade. I mean, last year, Kevin Knox behind the scenes requested a trade, and we didn't know until he moved him. So, yeah, now things are coming to light. I don't expect Cam to say, yes, I want a trade. I mean, in most cases, don't players get fined for publicly requesting a trade?
I'm not sure if they get fined.
Well,
but it's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
I haven't seen too many players publicly request a trade. Yeah. The only person I've seen do something close to that was Miles Turner, where he wrote an op-ed saying that the Lakers should try and come get him. He's crazy. That guy's something else, especially when you see the players he's over there with, and Halliburton and Matthew.
I know. Why would you want to leave the Pacers, man?
Yeah, I mean, other than living in Indiana. But I've talked to some people, and they say Indiana's a pretty cool city. So, I don't know if I would change a city like Indiana and just go to LA just for the bright lights and whatever the case may be. But he's bugging.
Yeah, and in the NBA, when you're young, it doesn't matter where you live. You got the summer off season. You're going to spend the time in LA or New York.
Says you
and
where
Europe.
you get paid means a lot. Those taxes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Especially when you're young and you don't know how to manage your money.
Yeah, but these guys, I mean, they're making double digit. I mean, 10 million easily and up. He's going to get at least.
They're paying about 40% of that in taxes.
There's one little thing down here because NBA Trade Report, it's not a verifiable source or whatever, but they put sources. Phoenix has had internal discussions on the possibility of trading for Julius Randle. Nothing is imminent, but Suns are looking to upgrade roster immensely.
Ship him out of here.
Hey,
especially after good performance, we can get some real value for him if he keeps this up.
Yeah. And I forgot who put it out there, but they were talking about like Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson. I forgot the third player.
I like Cam Johnson.
I like Cam Johnson a lot, but he's going to have to get paid.
Yeah, but he's not going to get paid more than what you saw Bridges get paid or some of these other players. He's a decent player, but he's not going to go. He might get paid a little bit less than Fournier, I would think. No? You think he'll get more?
No. The way salaries, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, honestly. He could get anywhere from 14 to 18 million.
Yeah, which is a reasonable contract. You're just swapping out Cam Johnson for Evan Fournier, and I think that'll be an even exchange for the most part offensively, and then defensively, I think Cam is a step up from Fournier.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Much.
Let's, but I just put that in there just to whet your appetite, guys. Sorry, we're racing through, so it's hard to interact with the chat right now because the game is going to start pretty soon, and we got off to a late start. Our apologies, but anything we don't get to, we'll get to it in the next show, or maybe in the post game. I'll jump on it and do it. So, Obi injury. Did you read much about this, Quis?
Yeah. He's dealing with a non-displaced fracture of the fibula.
Right. Yeah, the fibula. Yeah. That's the little bone that goes along the big bone. I was wondering if it's even possible that the injury may have begun a while ago. And it just finally just gave way, or at least it didn't displace. Though it's great. Displace means it goes like this. It's just a little.
It's misaligned. It's an alignment.
It's not misaligned. This one. So it's possible. With Zach Collins, he had a similar injury. Came back within 21 days, but most times it's at least 5 weeks, which he might miss about 17 to 20 games.
And that's if there's no complications. There are complications that can, increase that timeline. If they have to then go in and do surgery because they don't like the way that it's healing, that could then complicate things a lot longer.
Totally. And then the next tweet there is Stephen Bondi retweeting Woj, and he says, Tom Thibodeau said he likes RJ Barrett, a power forward if Obi is out for extended period.
This guy's nutty. I mean, you got Cam on it right there on the bench. You're trying to trade him. At least put him in there so we can get some value from him. Why are you gonna play RJ at?
He did not say, I like RJ and we'll look at Cam. No,
something had to happen behind the scenes because
something happened behind the scenes. I'm telling you, something happened behind the scenes, and they're keeping it together. They're not letting anything leak out, which is good. That's smart. The smart thing to do, but for sure, 100% something happened. What was I reading? I was reading, I think maybe it was Fred Katz, or maybe it was Macra. I can't remember now. But they thought that it was the last play when he got pulled. He hasn't played since. He was going up the court. He didn't really rotate over. He pointed at his guy that he should have been to Mitch for him to cover him. They switched, and then they went on a high pick and roll. And they both switched onto the same guy and left the other guy wide open for the shot.
But
and then
that's nothing new. We've seen Julius Randle do that all season.
I know. But then maybe Cam, because it's humiliating, to get pulled after something like that. And we know that Thibs is hard. We hear Thibs barking. I can hear him on the TV sometimes. Dumb! Like that.
And whoever's on the drop button is not doing their job because all the curses squeak through.
Yeah, they do. I think maybe they got into the locker room because also they didn't let the reporters in after the 15 minutes. They waited, I don't know, they said 25 minutes or something. Maybe there was a little argument between Cam and Thibs, and it didn't have to be that big. It didn't have to be like, throwing punches. It could have just been like yeah, that wasn't cool.
A heated discussion.
And he walks out. And it could be something like that. With everything we're saying is pure conjecture based upon some unusual things that have happened. You don't keep a guy out like this when we're talking about Cam, when your number 2 power forward basically is going to be out.
Let me check Basketball Reference. Has Cam played any minutes at the 4 for us this year?
I'm not sure. It's always weird how they, classify that.
Yeah.
So, I think it's possible we might actually see Sims play some power forward. I wouldn't
shooting though.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sims play some power forward. Let's move on. Is the game started yet, guys?
Most likely.
Okay. We got about 100 in the chat. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Drop your comments if later on you're watching this, whatever, and you get ideas and thoughts. Drop those comments.
So I got the numbers for you.
Okay.
George. So in last year, he played 27% of his minutes at the 4 for Atlanta. Last year for us, he's played 21% of his minutes at the 4 for us. And then this year, he's played just over 1% at the 4. So we haven't seen it much this season.
But last season,
we did see it.
Last season, I thought we did see it.
So there's precedent for it, but this guy Tibbs, man, it's terrible.
He could be playing the coach mind game right now.
The coach mind game. He won't be here long enough for these Jedi mind tricks, George. Come on, let's not do this.
Hey, the guy.
He's not Phil.
He keeps living. I would have thought he would have gotten fired already.
Support role.
I thought he would have gotten fired already. Yeah. All right. The last thing, we're going to jump into it, even though the game is going to start soon. But I definitely want to have this conversation with you, Quis.
Shoot.
I see down below, should Knicks make trades to win now or tank? I put Wemby and Scoot there because they're the 2 best. But it doesn't have to be just for them. It could just be there's other really quality players. Because here's the thing. We started off talking, you and I, about the vision, what they're doing. They're trying to build a team for Thibs. They're trying to get the play-in, the playoffs. What's happening here? Where are we? We're in the mid, stuck in the mid. Well, how do you get out of the mid? Well, you acquire better players. If we can't acquire them through free agency and we're struggling to acquire them through trades, then there's the draft. I mean, it's that simple. Maybe at this moment, yes, we've come off two interesting wins. Finally, the Knicks are playing some better defense. But is this the time for us to pivot and, for lack of a better word, tank? And then we'll get to this thing as we talk about it. Here we go. Tank for Wemby and Scoot. So right now, as things are, we would get the 11th pick, and we would also get Dallas's 21st pick. If you look at the top 15 players on the big board, this is all from Tankathon. Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson are clearly number 1 and 2. Amen Thompson, he looks like a really interesting prospect, a 6'7" point guard who's got shooting guard type skills. He looks really interesting. He's in that tier below. They're clearly Victor and Scoot are in the top tier, and then Thompson are in the second tier all by himself. And then there's the rest of these guys. But Nick Smith is good. And we're going to have shows with Foxy on, and we're going to talk about these guys in more specifics. We're just doing a general glossing right here just to show you. You can pick Brendan Miller, someone that Foxy's very high on. I watched a little bit of him. He looks really interesting. 6'9", can hit the 3. Cam Whitmore, Amen's twin brother, Usar, I think that's how you say his name. There's Cason Wallace, who had a nice game recently for Kentucky. Keontae George for Baylor. Jarice Walker of Houston, they're number 1 right now. Kalel Ware of Oregon, interesting player. Dylan Mitchell from Texas. Anthony Black from Arkansas. Kyle Filipowski of Duke. And in 15th place there, Derrick Whitehead of Duke. You always got to put a couple Duke players on there. I think it must be the tankathon rule, the mock rule. Is it time to tank, Quis?
No, I don't. First of all, I don't think we'd be able to make enough moves to be bad enough to tank. You look at some of the other teams that are out there, the Pistons, Charlotte, who we're about to play today. Who else is down there in the doldrums?
Orlando. Well, remember, to tank, you don't have to be the very worst team anymore.
You don't have to be the very worst team, but you got to be close enough. And as the Knicks, you know, the league ain't doing us any favors. We're not going to be like the Pelicans. And
it wasn't that long ago. We were 10-13. We were 10-13. If we had lost those other two games, we would have been 10-15. We were about to, you know,
we still would.
We still may.
We would if we were. Let's look at the rest. Let's look at the schedule. Go back to the previous slide, George. Because even if we lost those two games, we'd be what, 10-15? You said.
Yeah.
Even at 10-15. Even at 10-15, we'd still be at we'd still have the 6th seed. So I don't see us necessarily jumping up from the 6th seed. And even if we were to move off of a guy, let's say we do a 5.
Look at your odds. Randall. Look at your odds, though. Look how once you get to the 7th seed, let's forget that. Let's get to the 9th seed. Look at Oklahoma City in 9th. You almost have a 1 in 4 chance of getting into the top 4. Below that, it's ridiculous. If you're 10th, which is kind of where we were last year.
See, but that's not tanking though, George. That's just being a mid team like we are. They're gonna end close to 500 by the end of the season, which is what we're expecting.
I don't think a 500 team is gonna end up in the lottery here. I don't think. I mean,
think so. I mean, there's a lot of parity in the league this season.
Yeah, but look at teams. A lot of teams are getting it together now too. You know, they're waking up. Look at the Nets woke up. The Lakers are starting to win. The Pacers don't look like they're fading.
Well, the Nets are all the way down at 20. It's not like they're close.
Yeah. No, but they're gonna I'm saying they'll be dropping. Like Indy, I don't see Dallas. Oh, Dallas could. You never know what could happen with Dallas, but they'll probably make a move. But I don't see Brooklyn, Toronto, Indiana, Portland. You never know, with a bad injury could kill them. Atlanta's kind of weird, but still. They're going to be competitive. Sixers, I don't see them. They're going to be competitive. Clippers. But Timberwolves maybe could drop, which means they'll rise up here. Golden State's not going to stay at 12. They're going to get out of there. Miami, they're going to make a move. They're not going to stay there. You know what I mean? Like, I think.
But these teams are all teams that are probably going to stay in the same bunch formation when it comes to teams 6 through 12. For the most part, the Lakers, they're going to get better, so they'll move up. But Chicago, they might be a 500 team.
Chicago, probably, yeah. Chicago.
Oklahoma, they're tanking, but they've been pretty competitive. I don't see them dropping down to the doldrums like Orlando or Detroit. Same thing with Miami. They'll get better, sure. But other than that, you look at the teams we're above, how many are really going to be leapfrogging us to the point where we're that low to where our odds are going to be worth it to go for a full tank? Like, if you want to say tank, maybe next offseason you want to go ahead and tank. But it's hard to tank when you got 3 guys making over $100 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something about that. You could trade them.
You can try to trade them, but I don't know if there's a market for Julius Randle. And then we tried to trade RJ Barrett, but they reneged on the deal. So at least it's reported they reneged on the deal. We don't know if that's 100% true.
But look at let's see on this right here. I do think that Lakers are not going to stay there. Oklahoma City, you never know. Young players keep getting better. You know, the more they play, they get better. These guys could be right there. They could end up being a 500 team. I just trying to improve your chances to get up into that top 8, top 7. Actually, 7 is even better because look, that's 34.4% chance of getting into the top 4. That's if we keep. What I'm saying is, we're not staying where we're at. Either we're going to get better or we're going to get worse. So, but if you keep making moves that sacrifice your future so that you can win now, what are we doing then?
I mean, but you can not make moves that are going to jeopardize your future without having to go full tank. Because I guess the better question would be to ask, what would you consider tanking? Because if they went and traded Julius Randle just to free up, not really to free up room for anybody because Obi's hurt, but if they traded Julius Randle to kind of change the direction of this team, I wouldn't view that as a tank per se. I would view that as them trying to sell high on Julius Randle and now giving the reins to some of the younger players on this squad. So to me, that wouldn't be a tank. A tank would be like a full fire sale.
Yeah. Well, I would say, let's say the difference would be if you use Quickley and Cam to trade them away for a 29-year-old player with 2 years, basically a Fournier type, a better Fournier. Don't be surprised if that's not what they're thinking about.
Kind of Buffett.
Oh, don't be surprised if that's what they're thinking about. Trading like a Cam and an IQ for either draft picks. So we've heard draft picks, but they package them together for like a better version of a Fournier, a Bogdanovich.
That's a tank? Or that's
I'm
trying to win now?
It's a strategy to win now.
Okay.
Like, what does that do for us? How do we get the elite players then?
I was under the impression they were going to trade one of those two in order to get draft compensation to go and get the star, not to get a Fournier replacement per se, to get a legitimate star. For some reason, they're saying that a first-round pick is more valuable in a deal than Immanuel Quickley. Even when we see Immanuel Quickley make huge steps defensively, and he's starting to figure out his shot now. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but then again, I'm not in the league. I'm not behind the scenes, so I got to defer to some of the know.
I'm starting to get a feeling they're going to make a Derrick Rose type deal like they made 2 years ago. That's what I think they're going to be doing. That wasn't
that bad of a deal, though.
It wasn't that bad of a deal.
A second.
That one didn't cost us that much, but there aren't that many guys like that. You know what I mean? But if we're thinking of moving some of our young guys to acquire someone like that, we're kind of on the treadmill. We're still going to be in the middle. Like, I want to get out of here. I want to have some hope.
Well, if you want to have some hope, you're going to have to hope that Dolan fires the front office, because the only people that would be able to go, quote unquote, tank and do a legitimate full rebuild would be a new front office, because I don't think Dolan is going to give these guys 3 years and then fire the coach and allow them to come do a completely new rebuild, even though they never really did a rebuild from scratch. But I don't see James Dolan giving them, additional time to try and build a contender 3, 4, 5 years down the line, especially with the way that this tenure has been.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Dolan firing them in terms of the tank strategy. I'm fine with that. In fact, I would.
But that won't happen until next offseason, though. When if he probably fires the front office, they're not going to come in and really make some sweeping changes until they get an offseason under their belt. At least I don't think that offseason is when they'll start making the major moves. They'll start jettisoning some of the young guys that they don't believe are going to be with this team long term, start moving some of the older veterans. Maybe they'll trade some of the guys that have larger contracts, maybe an RJ, maybe a Julius Randle, because when the new front office comes in here, they don't have any ties or connections to the players on the roster. So they can kind of come in with autonomy for the most part and make some changes, especially during the first few years when we haven't been able to really grade some of their moves. We're going to allow them, I would assume, to make some decisions and give them some time to see how those pan out.
Yeah. Well, that's if they wait. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I was Dolan, I would have fired them already. I would have fired them both already, moved on, put Johnny Bryant in there as the interim and see how he does. Reach down and maybe put Brock Aller, let him run it till the end of the season, and tell them your goal is to find the best players, best young players we can get our hands on this team, and let's try to improve our chances to get either one of these two guys, Scoot and Victor. And then, of course, you have to have a plan B. If that doesn't work, then what are the other players you can look at to add here? Because only by adding outstanding talent to your team can you become a good team. Right now, I mean, we were hoping RJ was going to be that. Sadly, he hasn't.
unfortunately. And that was a big piece, I think, in order to us finding out how far we are from, being championship contenders. If RJ was able to take that next step, then, we could have said, all right, we have that one star in RJ, and maybe we just need to add a second. But RJ has been extremely inconsistent. The shot just really hasn't been there for him. The decision making, turnovers, lack of effort on defense occasionally. I mean, it's a lot going on with RJ. And right now he's as far away from stardom as I've seen over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. And it's very disappointing. Even though I still believe in him. I still believe that he can be, like a third starter on a contender. I believe that he can be. He just got off to a terrible start and hasn't shown it to us. He didn't level up from where he left off last season. Move up. He actually regressed, or even kind of plateaued, like slid slightly off what he did the second half of last season. So all of that is very
like he hit the rev limiter and bounced off of it.
Yes, exactly. But I do believe in him. But just judging by what is happening now, you can't say with confidence that he's a piece. He's a piece, definitely a piece. You can't say that. You can't say that about Randall either. He's so inconsistent. You can't say that about Randall either.
Yeah. I mean, I still view them as pieces because once they kind of figure it out just a little bit, they can both be tradable.
Yes, tradable pieces. Yeah, but I'm talking about pieces that you keep
long term.
You add to them. Yeah. All right. Well, we've run out of time. It's been great. It's been a great conversation, man. The Knicks are up 12-11, and they should definitely win this
13-11.
game. 13-11 even. They should win this game pretty easily. Just want to show this before we sign off. I crunched, it took some numbers here, looking at if you guys heard Thibs talk about the defense recently and what's important to him. I text this to you, so you look at it. I'm going to play this Thibs on D video for you guys, and we're going to come back to this. All right, so hang on. Here we go.
Coach, his back-to-back games, you help teams under 90 points. What are you seeing that the team is executing more consistently?
I mentioned this earlier. Like the big metric for me defensively is defensive field goal percentage, because that you're measuring what you're doing on every shot. Same thing with the 3-point field goal percentage. So are we challenging shots correctly? And then are we keeping the ball out of the paint? That's a reflection to me of your shell. And those are things we've been strong in all year. I think we've gotten in trouble some with, when we've turned the ball over, we've been low turnover, but the 2 previous games we had high turnovers. You put teams in the open floor, they're going to make you pay for that. But I think the thing we want to count on is our defense and our rebounding and low turnovers every night. I think if we do those 3 things, that puts you in position to win, regardless of how you shoot the ball. Some nights you're going to shoot it better than others. We made 17 threes tonight, so that's a big plus. And I thought a lot of those came off of guys helping to create rhythm for each other. So doing something for someone else, now it's a different shot. So when we play like that, it's going to be good. And it was strong on both sides of the ball. And Julius just had a monster game. So I think that set the tone for us.
Okay, so he said it. He said that the most important metric for him is defensive field goal percentage, which is this second column here. And I looked at the first 22 games of the season. The Knicks were 7th overall, only allowing 45.7% field goal shooting from the opponent. And recently, the last 3 games, these are all the December games, it's now at, when you include the most recent 3 games into the whole season, it goes down to 44.9% for third best in the NBA. Third best. Defensive rating. Just with those additional 3 games, we go from 26th in the NBA up to 18th. That's a big jump, Quis. Look at opponents' 3-point shooting. 35.3% for the first 2 months of the season. When you include all of December with the first 2 months, it's down to 34.4% for 9th. shockingly. But we also allow the most 3-point attempts and the fourth most three-point shots made. So we're kind of our style of defense encourages people to shoot more 3-pointers. Offensive,
you stack the paint.
Yeah. Offensive rebound percentage. Look, we were at actually that's incorrect. That number there. That's defensive rebound percentage. 68.9%, which was 28th. We came up a little bit to 27th. That's a key stat. We're definitely lacking in that. We need to really impact that. Also, the turnover percentage has actually gotten a little bit worse, but still pretty effective. So the defense, when you look at these numbers, just including the last 3 games, has actually improved recently, and I think that's it's a good sign. Good sign for this team.
Definitely improved with the addition of Deuce McBride replacing Derrick Rose. But you also I'm gonna wait to get a larger sample size, because one of the key games is a game against the Atlanta Hawks where they really had none of their starters out there other than Trae Young. So and then they got to play against Charlotte, who's going to be missing another one of their key players. So I want to see how they look more so against teams that have more problems out there on the court for us to try and decipher. Trae Young by himself is not really going to be able to kill you if he doesn't really have much of a supporting cast, and we saw that when we were able to beat them in our last game. But I know the defense, from what I'm seeing, is definitely improved with the addition of Deuce and with Quentin Grimes as well. You have to mention him as well. But I don't think we faced a large enough test for me to come away and say that this team is starting to turn the corner defensively.
Ooh, nice move by Quick right there. He did a little hezzy. He froze the defender, and then he just went right by him for a layup. It's 2016 right now at 2. It was like a 2:35 mark left in the first.
Yeah,
all right, I'm gonna have to go watch the beginning of this game. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. We appreciate it tremendously.
Oh, nice little status stat. I see it.
Yeah, you saw it?
Yeah, nice little
if you have, Quis, gonna say anything to the chat?
Yeah, make sure you guys are tuned into the channel. I'll be live this Sunday with Foxy. George, you're welcome to join us. It'll be a pregame edition because I think the game is at 6. So if you're available, make sure you pull up, chop it up. We'll be talking. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. That could work for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about some more trades, talk about the injury, try to get a deeper dive. I'm going to have one of my doctor buddies try to call in, and so he can give us a little bit more backstory behind the type of injury that Obi Toppin is dealing with, just to keep a little, the fans a little bit more educated on some of the medical happenings with the team. So make sure you guys are tuned in and subscribe to the channel with notifications set to all, because I'll be live with the Sunday stream with my guy Foxy Sunday at 4:30.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yes, definitely subscribe to both channels and follow us on Twitter and hit that thumbs up button for us. Yep. And we will see you around the Knicks-Verse.